Go. Thank you all so much for joining me. Let's go ahead and get rolling here with the game-changing key to manifestation nobody told you about. How do I know nobody told you about it? Because I've been doing this work for 4 decades now, and I just figured this out. Okay, this is a very well-kept secret in the manifestation world. No, that's not what it is. It's a very misunderstood concept in the manifestation world that I only recently came to understand. And I want to share that understanding with all of you because it has been, as I say, a total game changer for me. And I hope it will be for you too. This was not just an epic aha for me, it was an epic duh. So I'm kind of hoping you have some of the same experience here. Like, oh, obviously. It seems so simple once you understand it. All right, so today we're going to be covering what I call the law of assumption, okay? This is a concept by Neil Goddard, but like I say, it is much, much misunderstood. I have heard it bandied about in a lot of different ways, none of which is what he really meant by it. So by the end of this, you will be among the, you will understand something that 99.99999% of creators like you do not understand. And so you will have a special leg up on your manifestation and magical powers. All right, so let's dive on in. First, I want to talk to you about the power of performance. My background, for those of you who don't know me, I have been a performer since I was born. I was one of those kids that was like sequestering my parents and forcing them to watch my shows from, the time I could talk, and probably before that. I was in my first play when I was 4, all the way up to, I got this PhD in theater up here. When I got this PhD in theater, the dissertation I wrote was actually in what is called performance studies. And what that means, it's kind of like the bastard love child of theater and like psychology, sociology. It's looking at the ways that we play roles in our everyday lives and how we actually perform our identities as humans for each other in different ways. So I've been, as I say, teaching these methods my entire life. So you're in good hands here and know of what I speak. So I learned a long time ago the power of playing pretend and allowing that pretend to become real for me in different ways. It can be a bad thing, like the time I played a villain and I started acting as a villain in my everyday life. Like the time I was Titania in The Queen of the Fairies, and I started feeling like Fae royalty and carrying myself as such. Lost some friends over that one, but I did have some pretty magical synchronicities show up in my life, which was totally worth it. I'll also tell you one of my favorite games to play. I love doing different accents and showing up in spaces where people don't know me and just putting on a completely different accent and like identity. It's a really fun game. My favorite is when I go to a new restaurant, okay? A restaurant I've never been to before. I put on my little black dress, I put on my beret, and I put on my faux French accent. And when I go there, they treat me like royalty. Just because you are French, they think that you know everything about food. They think you might be a critique, okay? And they treat you really, really well. So this was my go-to. I would go to a new restaurant, I would be French, and forevermore, they would always remember me and they would always treat me like gold. So there are lots of different ways to do this, but I'm going to teach you one of the ways right now. Oh, sorry. What are the roles, let's talk about this, that you play in your life at present? What do you already know that you play as a role? Are you a parent? That's a role. You play that for your children. Are you a professional? Right? Are you a partner? Are you a friend? I would love it if you could just pop in the chat real quick and share some of the roles that you play in your life at present. I would love to see them. Who do you play in your life? Or you can pop off mute and just say it out loud. That is also an option.
I would say daughter, circle leader, listener.
Beautiful. Alina says, IT analyst, author, mentor, friend, mother, wife, daughter-in-law, right? Friend, Regina says, friend, partner, entrepreneur, artist, collaborator. Oh, yes. So juicy, right? There are so many roles that we play. And none of those roles are false, are they? Those are all very real to us. Those are all very true. And it is our belief in it that makes it true. So here's the thing. I want to teach you a little game that you can play with yourself called a wish fulfillment. And this is something that was taught to me in my 20s by an acting teacher called Larry Silverberg. And Larry's example of this was always, let me just move this out of the way here. There we go. The Lamborghini. He always wanted to own a Lambo, okay? Not just a sports car, a Lamborghini. It was very specific. And he knew that he, as an actor, it was very unlikely, unless he, hit it big, that he was going to be able to own a Lamborghini. And so he did this thing, which was called a wish fulfillment for himself. He went to a friend who was a lawyer, and he borrowed his best suit, down to the shiny, shiny shoes, right? And he walked onto this lot where they house the Lamborghinis, looking like somebody who could afford a Lamborghini, feeling like somebody who could afford a Lamborghini. And he said, I'd like to take a test drive, please. And he got to drive his dream car around the neighborhood. And he felt like $1 million. And he said he's never forgotten that feeling. And he uses it in his acting and in his everyday life. He didn't say manifestation, but I knew exactly what he meant. That the more you feel that that is a reality that you could be in, the more synchronicities show up, and you actually find opportunities to be the person that you felt like when you were behind the wheel of that car. So I ask you, what would you try on for size? What kind of wish fulfillment would you like to experience? I'll tell you one that I had recently. So again, for those who don't know me, I have this dream. I call it the wild. And the wild is land that I'm going to own. And I'm going to rewild a lot of it and allow it to just be wild space. But I'm also going to have a permaculture food forest and gardens and critters. And I'm going to have a retreat center, and there's going to be cabins. It's going to be epic. Okay. Now, I've had this dream for a long time. And a couple of weeks ago, my husband and I were just idly looking around at real estate, because we like to do this as a game, just looking around at real estate that's available. And we found the perfect land for this project. It's enough for everything that we want to do. It's right on a river. It's not that far from where we live now, but it feels like a world away. It is ideal. And so we drove right over there and just walked in and started walking around like this was already ours. And it felt amazing. Amazing. And I still, in moments where I start to feel down or I start to feel resistance, I just put myself back into that space of walking around like this is mine. This is for me. This is all for me. So I want you to be thinking about, what's an experience that you'd like to have that you could make happen, at least temporarily, right now, from where you are in your life right now. But I want to warn you about something that often happens when you do this, okay? Here's the little warning label that comes from this. There can be this big letdown / resistance, like backlash afterwards. You step out of that Lamborghini and you say to yourself, ugh, but it's going to be forever until I can afford that, right? You feel that immediate, like, rational resistance to this idea. So to prevent that from happening, I want you to just say to yourself, it's just for the feeling, okay? It doesn't matter how long it takes for me to get this thing or how much I can't afford it right now. It's just for the feeling. It's all about the feeling. So remind yourself, it's just about feeling good in this space, and go for it. All right. Now we're going to dive into the meat of this presentation. What the heck is this law of assumption we keep hearing about? Okay, well, if you look it up on the internet, here's what you're going to find. It's going to say, what we assume to be true, we call into our reality. And that is true, but it doesn't tell you the whole story. Not even close. So I'm going to sip my tea here and we'll dive into it. This is a philosophy that was proposed by Neville Goddard. And Neville wrote a lot about this. And if you actually read his writings, you will discover what I discovered, which is that most people completely misunderstand and misuse his concepts. The misunderstanding that most of us have is that this means if I assume things will go my way, they will. Right? So I'll give you an example of me attempting to use this and discovering that this isn't quite enough and it doesn't quite work. So I saw an advertisement for a job listing for creator coach. And immediately I was like, you have my attention, right? Because I work with creators. That is what I have always called you beautiful people, my creators, right? And so I was like, I coach creators. Obviously, I'm a creator coach. Now, specifically for people who are creators on YouTube. And I was like, wonderful. I love YouTube, right? This video is going to go on YouTube. Sign me up. So I immediately assume this job's going to be mine. I start telling people I'm starting a new job soon. I put on my LinkedIn title, creator coach. Okay. Like, I am all in on this. There's no doubt in my mind that this job is going to be mine. So you can imagine my shock and horror when I didn't even get past the first round of interviews. And that interview went great. Like, it didn't even make sense to me. I couldn't even understand what had happened. I felt like I was in some parallel reality where I was like, what are you talking about? No, I'm supposed to have this job. But the universe knows much better than I do what I'm supposed to have and what I'm not supposed to have, right? So obviously something better than that is going to come along. But like, at the moment, it felt like, in Peter Pan, when they say, clap if you believe in fairies, right? It felt like I hadn't clapped hard enough and had therefore murdered Tinkerbell. That's what it felt like. And that is the problem with this misunderstanding of the law of assumption. It is not enough to simply act as if. Okay? That's the problem with fake it till you make it, is that deep down that you're faking it. There is always that little voice in the back of your head that says, but it's not real. So there's this fine line between creation and delusion, right? So we have to pull these things into balance somehow. We have to get around these triggers that trigger our resistance. And I'll give you a perfect example of what I mean by a trigger for our resistance. I want you to tell yourself right now, I am a millionaire. I am a millionaire. And just watch what happens, right? Your rational mind shows up so fast to say, actually, you're not. And I have plenty of evidence that says that you're not, right? So then you go, okay, fine. I'm going to be a millionaire. But your rational mind isn't satisfied with that. It goes, well, how is that going to happen? What are the odds of that actually occurring, right? What's the probability here? How is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? Where is this going? Shut up, right? You are absolutely inundated with this rational debate that shows up. Not only that, if you say to yourself, I'm going to be a millionaire, what you're saying to the universe, which only understands the present tense, is, hello, universe, I would like to always have what I want just out of reach, please. And it says, sure, if that's what you're into, enjoy that, right? So this is a big problem. It doesn't get us where we really want to go. It just triggers our resistance, and all of these blocks come up, and all we feel is tension and frustration. What I have discovered in actually reading Neville Goddard's work is that it's not about the conditions. Get rid of the conditions. There are no ifs. It is act as. Assume the identity of the person you wish to be. So let me say that a little louder for the folks in the back. To become your favorite version of yourself, start acting as that person in your everyday life. This is what the law assumption actually means. It's not about making mental assumptions. It's about assuming the identity of the youest version of you. So let's talk about that. Who is your favorite version of yourself? The youest you. Now, notice I said favorite. I did not say the best version of you, or the most enlightened or evolved version of you, or the greatest version of yourself. Okay, these are all judgment words. And as soon as you bring judgment in, guess who's going to show back up? Your rational mind, your ego self, who will argue with you and debate with you until the cows come home. So we don't want any judgments on this. This is just what feels good to you, okay? What is the version of you that would feel most wonderful for you to inhabit? That's what we're looking for here. Now, I want to clarify, the youest you is still you. So you have the same values, the same goals, the same desires, the same loves, the same care, the same purpose, the same mission as you do now. It's just that this version of you doesn't let anything get in the way of living the life they truly desire to live. They don't let anything get in the way of giving their gifts and showing up with their passion and living their purpose. That is the only difference between this youest you and the you are right now. That's it. I also want to clarify that this version of you is not perfect, okay? They screw up aplenty, and they learn lots of juicy lessons from all those trial and error screw ups, okay? They are still enjoying the game. They are still living the life, having adventures. It's just that they are enjoying the hell out of that process. So the youest you is winning at life, winning at the game of life, simply because you are having so much fun playing it. That's the difference. So let's talk about, how do we find this youest version of you, right? Who do you really want to be? Well, here's where it comes in our exercise. First exercise of the day. Grab your notebook, grab your pen. You may want to turn off your camera for this if you feel self-conscious. I don't care, but some people prefer to have their camera off. Whatever makes you the most comfortable. I want you to be just as comfortable as you possibly can during this exercise. This requires a good deal of relaxation. So I want you to be physically comfortable. I want you to be mentally comfortable. Take a moment and just prepare yourself, okay? And we're going to do some exercises to get you acquainted with this youest you. And the first step is to envision. So we're going to walk through a day in the life of your youest you. So when you're ready, I'd love for you to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. If it feels good to you, breathe that colored light back into your body and just notice what color it is. Beautiful. And now I want you to notice that you are in bed. You are in a very, very comfy bed. And first, before you open your eyes, I just want you to feel what it feels like to be in this very comfy bed. What do the sheets feel like? Feel the weight of the blanket on top of you. And I want you to take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, smell a wonderful smell that is wafting from somewhere nearby. Maybe it's coffee if you're a coffee drinker. Maybe it's breakfast. Whatever that is, just let it fill your lungs. And then in your vision, you don't have to do this in real life, open your eyes and just look around the room where you are. See this beautiful space where you've been sleeping. Just notice all the little details about how this space supports you in your mission, in living the life that you love to live. And when you're ready, go ahead and put your feet on the floor. And again, just notice what that feels like. Is it smooth? Is it fluffy? Is it warm? Is it cool? What does it feel like? And make your way to the space where you do your morning routine, wherever that space is. And I want you to walk through this morning routine that this version of you does to help you feel your best and align to your purpose and set your intention for the rest of your day. Just allow yourself to enjoy that ritual as you go through it. Next, you're going to do something that really connects you to your sense of purpose. You are going to give your authentic gifts. Now, this may be with one person or a group of people or a whole room or arena full of people. But I want you to see yourself giving your gifts to someone who really appreciates it. And I want you to see that person, even if it's a whole crowd, I want you to see someone in that crowd who's really getting it. You see them just lit up from the inside as you are giving your gifts. You see that they are receiving exactly what you intended them to receive, and it is working. And I want you to just feel what that feels like. Feel what that feels like. Allow yourself to radiate with that feeling. And just then, as you're leaving the stage or leaving this meeting, you get a ping and you notice that you have a message from someone that you love. And this message is really good news. News that you could not possibly have anticipated. News that is so much better than anything you could have hoped for. You are over the moon to get this good news. And you got to celebrate tonight. So now we're going to time jump into your celebration. There you are celebrating with the people who matter most to you in a way that feels so good to you. What can you hear? Can you hear laughter, music? What can you taste? Is there delicious food here? Maybe your favorite? Feel the warmth of the people around you. Maybe get a hug. Allow yourself to just feel to your core. This is for me. This is for me. This is mine. I am worthy. I deserve this. I accept this. If it feels good to you, say out loud, thank you, I accept. And when you're ready, just come on back. Open your eyes. Come back to this world where we are here. But hold on to that feeling as much as you can, that feeling of what it felt like to inhabit your youest you, to assume that identity. And I want you to write down as much detail as you can remember. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Got one more minute. Would anyone like to share a detail from that experience? You can come off of mute or type it into the chat.
I can share.
Go for it.
I want to be a full-time successful author and a presenter. And I saw myself as a panelist at the 20 Books Vegas. Those panelists are always six-figure authors, so and I'm one of them. And then I was celebrating a contract with Amazon with movie rights.
Gorgeous. Love it. Anyone else want to share something they experienced as their youest, their them as them, your youest you?
I can share.
Awesome.
I think the thing I want to share is what I wrote afterward, which summarized the experience. I was active, moving in my body and interacting with others in person and online. I felt healthy, clear, and confident. Others around me were filled with joy and completely present. There was room to breathe and room to stretch, expand, enjoy, and celebrate.
Oh, girl.
It was
Yes,
good.
Please. Yes, please.
Awesome.
Frankie, anything you want to share?
Just like I had a sense of like when I was a kid, that wonder, that play. But as an adult, like I brought that with me. And then what I had to share, I also had like standing at a podium and sharing stuff. And just the sense that the people I work with had that also now. And that really felt satisfying. That felt yeah, I just felt fulfilled.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you for sharing, all of you. All right. So let's go to step 2, which is to flesh it out. Now, if you were an actor, okay, you would do a bunch of exercises to flesh out this role. Now, the first one that you would usually do is a backstory to give yourself a character history. But congratulations, you don't have to do that because you already have one, right? You know your history right up until this moment where you had this realization that, I can just be my meest me in my life, right? So instead, we're going to focus on what I call the hot seat. Now, the hot seat is basically where we interview each other as in character. But I'm going to be the interviewer this time, and you are going to write down the answers to these questions. Some of them you might already know because of that experience that you just had. Some of them you might have to think about a little bit, but I'll give you a minute for each answer just to write down. If you don't have time to complete them, you can go back and complete them later. Any questions before we start? All right, fabulous. So again, you're answering these questions as the youest you, your youest version of yourself, okay? Question number 1, what do you look like and how do you carry yourself? What do you look like and how do you carry yourself? All right. Next question. Where do you spend your time? Who and what do you surround yourself by on a daily basis? Say that again. Where do you spend your time? Who and what do you surround yourself with on a daily basis? All right. Question number 3. How do you spend your time? Where do you put your care? In other words, what do you care about most and how is that reflected in your daily habits? So again, how do you spend your time? Where do you put your care? All right, next question. Why do you do what you do? What are the values that keep you moving forward even when things get difficult? Why do you do what you do? What is your why? All right, my friends, final question. What feelings and experiences do you most appreciate? What makes you feel blessed and grateful?
Can you repeat that?
Absolutely. What feelings and experiences do you most appreciate? What makes you feel blessed and grateful? In other words, what's so great about your life? All right, friends, we're going to have one more lap here. And with this extra minute, I want you to pick one of those feelings on your list and just radiate it. Feel it as much as you possibly can. Feel it in every inch of your body. If it helps you, this is what helps me to do this, say out loud over and over, I know what that feeling feels like. So I know what freedom feels like. I know what love feels like. I know what joy feels like. Over and over for a minute. Here we go. I could have done that all day. I don't know about you. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. The more you can feel like this version of yourself, the easier it is to act as this version of yourself in your daily life. So now we are ready to unlock this, to turn that key that unlocks this law of assumption, this magical manifestation power that so many people have misunderstood. You know what it feels like to be the youest you. And so now it's just a matter of choosing to feel that way in every opportunity that comes along. So every time you come to a choice point, every day of your life, every time you come to that point where you're like, I could do this or I could do this, just ask yourself, what would the meest me do? And do that. Now, sometimes you will find that you can't do that thing that your meest me would do. And those are the moments where I want to ask yourself, why not? What are the specific obstacles that are preventing you from acting as the person you truly, deeply desire to be? Notice them and see if there's a tiny micro shift that you can make, something very small and easeful that you can change that gets you more in the direction of what your youest you would do. Making a small change to that, to get rid of that obstacle, right? That is keeping you from acting as your youest you. The whole point, though, is to take action, aligned action. Act as. If you do not take action, then nothing changes. And so all of this is really just preparing us to take actions that our meest me would take, right? And the more you do that, the more you will build and create the reality that you want to be living in, that reality you saw yourself living in. It is built action by action, incrementally, by making those choices. So here's where we see the difference between acting as if and acting as. Fake it till you make it, and actually authentically living the life that we want to be living. The difference is that we are not putting on a mask and then expecting that mask to transform us. We are stripping away all of the masks that we have been asked to play, all of these roles, all of these identities that we have had to assume to get by in our lives, to survive in the physical realm. We are stripping that down and getting down to, what is my inner being? Who am I beyond all of that? And when I act as that person, then my reality comes into accord with that version of me. And I start to see outside of myself what I feel inside of myself. I'm famous for saying, if you see yourself in the mirror and you look sad, would you take a Sharpie and draw a smiley face on yourself? Not very effective, right? No, what we would do is we would change our face to change our reflection. The world is your reflection. This reality is a reflection of what's going on in here. And so the more you can show up as that youest version of you, the more you will experience a world that aligns with that person and their vibration. And that, my friends, is the truth of the law of assumption. It's getting beyond that reactive ego self that reacts to the environment and becoming a proactive version of ourselves that says, what do I want to intentionally create? So it's not just being response able, it's being intention able to set intentions and create a life that we want to live. It is time to shift out of reactive mode and into proactive mode. It is time to play. Here is a little trick that might help you to do that, because there are moments where this can be really challenging, right? It's easy when we're all together and we're having fun and we feel good, right? Not so easy when you get triggered and your emotions are, your emotions are like, So in those moments, here's how to handle that stuck feeling, okay? We call it practicing self-care. Here is the CARE formula. C, clear your mind. Just create some space between your thoughts, because the thoughts are the things that are making you feel the way you're feeling right now. Okay. And so once we can slow down our thinking enough to notice, what is this thought that's making me feel this way? We can question it. And we can find a different thought, a better feeling thought. But first we have to create that space, that slow down, that self-awareness. And the trick that I use is the one that we started up with at the top of this workshop. Just breathe some colored light into your body and notice what color it is. That little moment of self-awareness creates that space that we need. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. You don't have to meditate for an hour. Okay. You can just create a moment of space for yourself and notice, this is the thought that I'm having. Can I attune to a better feeling thought? Okay. So for example, let's say you're thinking, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough, whatever it is, right? Flip it into, actually, I have everything I need to live a life that feels good to me. I have everything I need to feel good right now. Find a way to flip that thought into a positive. I am enough. I have enough. I do enough. The R is where we revel in that good feeling, like we did for that minute, right? Set a timer if you need to. And just allow yourself to revel in the good feeling that that new thought brings you. I have everything I need. I can feel good right now. I could feel joy. I could feel love, right? Just allow yourself to radiate with that feeling for as long as you can. Again, you can use that shortcut if it helps you of, I know what joy feels like, or whatever that feeling is that you want to feel in that moment. I know what it feels like to be enough. I know what abundance feels like, to have plenty, not just enough, but plenty. And finally, the E. And again, here's where the rubber meets the road, my friends. This is where we execute on this feeling. We do an aligned action toward that feeling. We exude it, we express it, we share it with the people around us through emotional transfer, through creative expression, and through aligned action. Even if that action is such a tiny thing, like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to exit this conversation right now. That's the action I'm going to take. This action is not aligned to my meest me. My meest me would not be in this conversation. So I'm just going to leave. It can be that simple. It doesn't have to be a big, complicated, life-changing action. It can just be, you know what? I'm going to stop being frustrated with this right now, and I'm going to look out my window for a moment and enjoy the view. It can be so small and simple. All right. Let's practice for a moment. We're going to practice that CARE formula. So first, we're going to clear our minds. Let's all, again, take that nice deep breath, breathe some colored light in, and just notice what color it is. Mine was midnight blue with little silver sparkles. And now we're going to attune to a good feeling thought, the best feeling thought that we can find in this moment. And then revel in it. I'll set a timer for a minute. Beautiful. And now we are going to take an aligned action by sharing with this group what that good feeling thought was. So you can come off of mute or type into the chat if you're shy and just share what was that good feeling thought that you came up with.
That I was taken care of, like fulfilled.
Yes, I am taken care of. I know what support feels like. Gorgeous. What about you, Regina?
I am rich. It's a word that is used often around me that is sometimes used in a negative way, but also used in a positive way. So I was embodying the positive version of it.
Beautiful. I am rich. I know what true wealth feels like. Yes. Yes, girl. Yes. Alina.
My mind kind of went somewhere I didn't expect it to. It was intimate moment with my husband.
Well, okay then.
Didn't expect it.
No problem. So what was the good feeling that you were feeling?
I think just kind of being with him, kind of like, just enjoying the moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just love, pleasure, intimacy. Gorgeous. I love that. So mine was that I am making an impact on these people who came here today, and that feels amazing to me. So thank you so much just for accepting my gift today. That is huge, and I so deeply appreciate that. Let's just sum up what we've learned today. So the law of assumption is not about making assumptions, okay? It's about assuming the identity of the person you truly wish to be and already know yourself to be underneath all the identities and the roles that you've played and collected over the years, okay? Beneath all of that, the youest you is love, is pure love, right? That is who you are at your core. And so the real question is, what would love do? And that's really the only question that you ever really need to ask yourself. What would love do? What would love do in this situation? And do that. Be love. Gorgeous. Remember, I want you to remember the youest you, the only thing different between you and your youest you is that your youest you doesn't let any of these illusions slow them down or stop them from living the life that they truly desire to live. That's the only difference. And you can start doing that now, today. It's just a choice. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this felt good to you and you'd like to go a little further, I would love to hear from you. I would love to set up a time with you. I am giving away 5 free hour-long sessions. So don't sleep on this invitation. Be one of the first 5 to ask for it, and ye shall receive. So I'm going to put my little link in the chat here to set that up. But beyond that, I would love, love, love to hear from all of you. How did this strike you? What would you like to see next in one of these workshops? And does anyone have any questions before we wrap up?
I know you mentioned that the law of assumption comes from Neil Goddard, but I've heard of the law of attraction and those other ones. Are they all him or different people?
Sorry, I didn't want the typing noise in the background. So, no. Oh, and I just gave that to Frankie, so I got to redo this. Oops. There you go. There's the link to set up your time. Frankie, these ideas come from lots of different places. The law of attraction, I'm not sure who actually coined that. The way that I heard about it, and a lot of people heard about it, was The Secret. And so I think that's what kind of popularized it, but I'd have to look it up to find out who actually coined the law of attraction first. But I know Neil Goddard coined the law of assumption.
How do you spell his last name?
G-O-D-A-R-D, Goddard. And I'll write it in here.
And does he have a famous book that explains it the best?
He has a number of books. There are also videos that you can find of him speaking. I'm an audio learner, so I love to listen to talks and things while I'm on walks. And so that's how I actually learned about the law of assumption, was listening to a talk of his where he was explaining this in much more depth. And I was like, what? That's amazing. This is theater. I know how to do that. I can do this. And it really, like I said, has been a total game changer for me. And Tara says she's pretty sure the law of attraction was actually coined by Esther and Jerry Hicks, a.k.a. Abraham Hicks. So awesome. I did not know that, but that's wonderful. So just to clarify, the law of attraction is the law that when we put out a vibration, we attract more of it. So again, by assuming the identity that we really want to assume and be, what we're doing is we're actually putting that vibration out there and allowing the universe to send us more like this. So the more we can feel like and act like the person we want to be, the more opportunities to feel like and act like that person will appear for us. It feels like magic, but it's just a universal law. It's like physics. We are at time. Thank you all so much for being here. I deeply, deeply appreciate your attention and your engagement. This has been absolutely wonderful. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Thank you all so much for coming. And please let me know if you want to get one of those slots. I have put that in the chat and you can just go ahead and sign up, or you can ping me. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.